I build guitars from scratch, and I don't know that that's too novel, but it seems that most people, when they talk about building guitars, when they talk about, luthery, or they're talking more about assembling parts. And I know that there's some guys that cut wood, and I'm one of those guys. I like to cut wood. And as a believer, as a Christian, I think that speaks to a lot of how I build, why I build. There's other believers I've met through the industry and stuff, but I'm not sure that we see their faith through their work. And I don't put a bunch of crosses and fish and stuff on my guitars, but I think the philosophy behind what I do always starts with, okay, only God can make a tree. The more I think about that, I think as image bearers of God, we see that in Genesis, and one of those aspects of being an image bearer of God is being creative. And here, we can't make a tree, we can't, fashion a piece of wood, but we can craft it, we can do something with it. And I think that creative aspect allows us to build a guitar, allows us to use that in worship, allows us to, play in a club or anything like that. I think that foundation makes me quite different. I think the details that matter to me are originality. There's a lot of guys that are building, even from scratch, building guitars that directly replicate something that's been done for 40 years, major brand instruments. I think that's cool. I think we can borrow a lot from that, but some of the details that are important to me are the original shapes. The guitars that I build are predominantly original shapes. Rarely will I do something that's pre-existing. And I think that's definitely one of those details that gets overlooked. It's hard to think about something that doesn't look like you took a traditional shape and just tweaked it a little bit. And so 96 comes around, I'm a senior in high school, and I became a Christian. And all of a sudden I had this passion to play. And so those guitars, that came out of the closet. And I had a good youth pastor that really just started to invest in me as a player. And at first it was a horrible, horrible noise. He was incredibly patient and gracious, and I know that now. But he just very, very gently walked me through leading worship, particularly in church. And what that grew into was a touring ministry. And when you're on tour, you got to service your own instruments. So that started me kind of working on my own gear. Wound up buying a friend of mine's dad's bass guitar for $100. Come to find out that originally it was $1,600. Didn't like the color of it, but it played great. It was a 5-string bass, and so I wanted to refinish it. So I stripped all the stuff down, and then I had to take it all apart, unsolder things, and had no idea what I was doing, but I realized I had to put this all back together. And so that was probably my first refinish. If we can capture something to give the instrument more purpose, and I mean that's where we stand by, JLC guitars, purpose reborn. That's part of, I think, what really sets it apart differently than some of the other guys out there that are, manufacturing smaller, high level